his businesses. He has experience working in EdTech, IoT, and BFSI high growth SaaS startups. That's why the tools part of hybrid learning is something that he has very much comfort and confidence in sharing his experience. So without much further ado, let's welcome Vinit Koga. Vinit, take it away.
Hello, hi. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for giving us this platform and giving us this opportunity. It's a Sunday evening. I'm very excited to meet all of you, and I'm excited to talk about how hybrid learning can really be used, and how can it have a great business impact, especially you know uh, we see that post COVID there has been a lot of transformation where a lot of physical classroom training is slowly moving either the online, blended, or hybrid way. So, thanks for the introduction. I'll quickly start with my presentation. Feel free to ask me any questions, and I'll share my screen. Let me know once all of you can see my screen. Yeah. Can you see my
All
screen?
right, we can see it now, Vinit.
Okay, perfect. Right. So, when we talk about tools and techniques that support hybrid learning, the first and the foremost thing is, we should know what is hybrid learning. There's a lot of, lot of confusion between the audience. Sometimes audience think that using multiple formats of learning, which is known as blended, is hybrid learning. Actually, hybrid learning is a learning methodology where you mix physical classroom training with online participants. That means some of them are physically there within the classroom, and some participants join online using a virtual conferencing tool. And that's what hybrid learning is known as. It's a bit different to what we call as blended learning, right? I've already been given a very nice introduction. I'll skip the slide. Uh, I'll talk more about my company. I'm from company Disperse. We are in the edtech space, and we provide learning technology platform to more than 400 customers. And typically, some of them are marquee clients from US, Middle East, India, and also we have more than 75 customers in Southeast Asia. Few of the good ones which have started using Disperse, we are almost 1.5 years in Philippines, are Universal Rabina, Security Bank, Eagle Cement, and others, right? So the first thing is, when you talk about hybrid learning, right? What are the skills and mindsets you as an L&D and HR professional need to leverage in order to use hybrid learning? Uh, to summarize, there are mainly 3 trending skills which you really need to use to up your game. The first one being, you should have a mindset to make learning digital and mobile. Second, integrate content with different sources. That means you can actually have some content which is e-learning, some content which is in form of an online webinar, some content which is delivered through a focused classroom training. You could also use OJTs. And also, you should march towards a learning matrix based organization. That means when you're going hybrid, you should look at all the matrix. Firstly, what skills are we trying to focus on? Second, how does this hybrid program have a cost implication on delivery of our trainings? Does it have even a business impact where we can use better training material? We can get better instructors who can go online instead of doing everything in a box classroom format. So today we'll talk about the hybrid techniques, which are explained in terms of direct discussions, journeys, gamifications. Then briefly touch upon the technology enablement, because you need technology to be used to go for going hybrid. And at the end, we should also talk about the success matrix. I'm pretty excited, and I look forward to going in depth about my session. But a caution, I heard that I have only 15 minutes, so we'll really go fast. So first thing, what are the different techniques when you use a hybrid learning? I mean, there are tons of articles available on the web when you want to learn about hybrid. What I have done is that I have read through some articles and I have put them in a visual format for you to really assimilate and understand how you can easily embark upon hybrid learning. The first and the most important thing is deliver information in more than one way. Hybrid learning is all about using very diverse content. It could be in digital format, it can be video format, it could be live online webinars, it could be in flashcard formats, it could be different kinds of quizzes. And you can also add, OJTs on it, you can add classroom sessions on it, and you can always get employee feedback. So that's the first thing. You need to use different formats. Second, while delivering hybrid, it's always advisable to build a structured learning pathway. So you, as a participant, I should have an experience of how my learning pathway is going to be. Like the first day, I'm going to attend a classroom, then I'm going to do some e-learning modules, I'm going to attend a live webinar. I should have the mobile flexibility to consume content on my mobile, right? And once you do that, I'm just giving you an example of how you could do an onboarding journey or onboarding experience for an employee from day 1 to day 30 using completely a hybrid format where initial documents can be shared as part of e-learning content. You could have videos, you could have live webinars, you could have flashcards, you could have graded assessments, you could have buddy manager coaching, classroom sessions, and employee feedback. So this actually brings it in a very structured way where onboarding can have a lot of impact when you actually take it into a hybrid format, because you are able to make the journey very intense in terms of the kind of content, interaction with different leaders, actually mix and matching it even with OJTs, and it's a lot of fun. Now, when a participant does it, right, everything should be mapped on a calendar. They should know today I am supposed to attend a live webinar. I'm scheduled for an e-learning module completion. I need to go for a classroom training, these kind of things. And how you do that is when you create a classroom training, typically when you create a training program, in case of hybrid, you should look into both the, kind of participants. You have learners uh, who will actually join on classroom, and you have learners who will join online. So what's going to be activities for them, and how are the online people going to consume their activities? So typically when you do a hybrid, you break the training into pre, in, and post class engagement. That read this before you come for actual training. All the training material can be pushed on a mobile device. You can do post training reinforcement. And and of course, that's how you blend learning formats, typically e-learning, webinars, and third-party content from outside content catalogs. You can also do multiple assessments like game-based, MCQs, action learning projects, and flashcard-based assessments. And then for the online participants, you need to handpick one of the tools which can, uh, plug in very well with the classroom training format, where people in classroom are able to easily interact with the people who are joining online, and the trainer is also comfortable to do this mix and match and carry everyone together, right? And how does a trainer do that? A trainer does that by making the classroom alive, using engagement tools. Like these are some virtual facilitation tools you can use. So when these tools are used, like role wheel, sentiment analysis, both the kind of learners who are in the classroom and who are joining online, brainstorm together and attempt these questions together. And that's how it keeps everybody together during the, hybrid format. And you could also add on the job trainings. If it's typically a 5-day training program, the first day could be classroom online. The second day could be completely, they do a OJT and they share their experiences of that OJT in terms of how effectively it was done. And you can also actually rate OJTs. You can also rate OJTs as a trainer. That's the advantage. And you can use discussion boards. Everybody who's part of the training program can be on a discussion board where they can share information, exchange information, like social learning. They can also do cooperative learning. That means within the training program, let's say if you have 30 participants, they can make their subgroups and all of them together can brainstorm and learn together, learn in different, it's like the teams concept, right? They can be in a group and they can brainstorm, they can submit a white paper, case study, something like this. That's what is known as cooperative learning. And then you have all the leaderboard gamification built in. They can collect points, they can get even a leaderboard ranking to get the fun element going. And then you can also give completion batches. Typically for every level you can have a typical batch assigned. And then you can also do buddy evaluations. Let's say within a classroom, if you have two buddy pairs, you could launch buddy assessments as part of hybrid learning and inculcate that as part of the complete training program. And of course, you need a dashboard where every student who's part of the training can check their progress. And that's very important so that they know where they are in terms of the complete content formats, in terms of their learning within the group. And the platform should be able to provide regular follow-up communication like email reminders, bell icon reminders. I showed you an example of the calendar. And then you should always have a good adoption playbook. How will you successfully adopt and maximize business impact using hybrid learning? So you should lay the groundwork well, set targets day wise that this is what you're going to achieve, deploy smart nudges, and measure the success analytics. I'll not go deep into it, but if I'll share this deck, and if somebody wants to know more about it, you could always connect with me on offline. Now, technology enablement. Typically, when you are doing hybrid learning, right? You as an L&D and HR professional, firstly, should calculate. And what should the calculation be all about? It should be about what kind of infrastructure you need to support a great hybrid learning environment. Whether it is you need a basic learning management system, you need a great online tool, you need a good virtual conferencing system, you need some tools for launching polls, doing engagement activities. And also you should have the ownership of success. So you should be able to measure success, like what was the adoption, what was the completion, what was the participation, what was the impact, right? And typically that's done in standard infrastructure formats. Like for hybrid learning, you need a learning platform, you need a lot of online platforms like webinar platforms, engagement tools, and you need some best in class content, whether it's a third party content catalog, your own a web free content which you want to use, or in-house developed content. And last thing, typically a time check. Last thing, what we need is to calculate the success matrix. So you always, whenever you're running hybrid, you need to understand what are the real-time learning analytics. So in your mix of content formats in hybrid version, which are classrooms doing well? Are the live formats doing well? Are the third-party content modules doing well? How many have not started? How many are in progress? How many have completed? Because it's hybrid, you need these tools to engage and have an overview of what the employee or the learner or the participant is doing. Now, second thing is you can also look at employee productivity and link it to a training program when doing hybrid. So typically you can say, okay, you can understand from the manager that this is the key skill which needs to be developed. And typically after the training, before and after the training, like this is after the training and this is before the training, typically what was the performance matrix of the employee. So tools are available to really directly measure the ROI of a hybrid training program with actual impact before and after. So this is the average target which they want to achieve. So before the training, you see the blue line showed that they were below the target, but after they completed this hybrid training program, they are above. And then you have tons of other assurance in terms of reports and analytics which are there within the platform. I'll stop here. I think so. I've taken about 15 minutes to cover this. Time check. Is that fine? I mean, or do you want me to cover something else?
Yeah, I think we can stop there, Vinit. Thank you
Okay,
very much. You have
perfect.
actually
So I'll
provided us tons of very valuable insights on this.
So
And I
yes,
think you have one slide that is very important
yes.
about the use case. Maybe you can add to that.
Okay, yeah. So when I talk about, hybrid learning, it's not just that, I've read through some articles, or I'm just sharing things with you, doing some research. I'm very proud about the fact that our company actually implemented successfully a great hybrid training program for a customer in Malaysia known as Petronas. Everybody knows Petronas.
Is
So
this
they
the
wanted
tower?
to, sorry?
Is this the tallest building?
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
The
All
triple
right.
tap, right? So what happened during the Petronas had a problem where they have multiple companies as a conglomerate, and they wanted to bring leaders from all these different companies into a training program, which is known as the leadership development training program, especially for mid and lower level, first time managers, right? And that's where we designed the complete hybrid program, where I used a slide of learning pathway or learning structure design. We used different kind of content formats. We used OJTs. We brought managers into the play of the hybrid training program, where before and after they were actually checked on their leadership skills and abilities when they completed this program. So you'll be happy to know that we engaged 4,300 leaders over a period of 3 years, typically 1,000+ leaders. And it was a 1 year hybrid training program. So it was not 5 days, 1 month, a complete year of hybrid training, where we had 90% active users, 30% increase employee engagement, and we had a 80% adoption. And in hybrid programs, that's the key success matrix, that how well you are adopting this. And we did some great things, like we did 180 evaluations. We even had some nice reports which were shared with the management, HR, and L&D team using Power BI. And we also implemented the adoption playbook very well. So this was a great project, and it was not a small project. 3 years of doing hybrid training program of almost 1,000 plus leaders from 18 different companies. You can imagine the kind of effort which is involved, right from design, implementation, finding out the trainers, looking for the e-learning content, doing evaluations, and we successfully deployed it using the learning platform. Yeah. I'll stop there. Would love to now take some questions, interact more with the audience. Thanks a lot, sir. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. That's really a wealth of insights that you have provided us, because when we started this, it's like we were thinking more narrowly in terms of how do we facilitate hybrid learning. So it's more from a design point of view, what kind of activities we are going to take. And so what you took us through, it's more on the strategic perspective, that there's more to it than just putting it into the design and facilitating both scenarios. So thank you for that. And my first question is, and this is a question that we also like the participants, both from our Facebook Live and here, to also participate. In your experience, Vinit, and with our participants and our kapatidi, what was the major challenge that you encountered or your clients encountered whenever they go through the hybrid learning? And so while Vinit is answering that, we will also look into the chat. We would also like to take a peek at the challenges that you have also encountered when you were doing hybrid learning, either from a managing point of view, facilitating it, or even designing it, but especially more when you're actually doing it already,
Right.
right? So Vinit?
Great. So when you're the major challenge for an HR and L&D professional or anyone is that you need to have a very clear understanding of what is the technology environment you're having. That means what are the tools you're having? Like, do you have a classroom available for training, which has got a great audio video conferencing system where online participants can join? That is one. Second is, do you have a great, a good learning management system on which you can design this, learning pathway or the complete training program. So though first is the technology part of it. You should be very clear that you have the tools to actually go in a hybrid format. Second is the design element. So as a L&D professional, you should be very clear with what's the duration and what will be the design and how will it will be immersive, right? So designing a hybrid requires a very different mindset than designing a classroom training. Sometimes people underestimate that. So while designing a hybrid training program, you need to look at various content formats, e-learning formats, as I said, online webinar formats, internal, external trainers. And while you do that, you'll also have to look at other things like, what kind of assessments you will use, what kind of matrix you will track. So that design element has to be structured in a very nice way. And last is, of course, the adoption playbook. Like in a classroom training, everybody is there for 5 days in a room. So you are able to easily ensure there is 100% completion. But here you'll have to have regular nudges, reminders in place to ensure that, people are free. Timely, they are completing their e-learning modules. They are joining for online webinars. And of course, during the classroom training, the online participants are also joining the same time. So these are some of the challenges. Yeah.
All right. So what I got there, Vinit, correct me if I'm wrong, is that there's really no single challenge, but you have to look at the multiple challenges from technology point of view, even the classroom, the the metrics that you're going to use. So it's really like managing these challenges from a point of view of the entire process of managing a hybrid learning, isn't it? Did I get that
Yeah,
clearly?
it is right. And actually you need to see what is it that you want to achieve as
Exactly.
an organization. If you are thinking that, I want to go hybrid because I want to cut costs, because I cannot make everybody travel from different locations, or I want to save on that business time of travel,
Right.
then you have to have that as an objective. But if your
All right.
objective is sometimes, the objective can be different. I want to go hybrid because I want to make the training program more interesting, more relevant, and I want to bring in elements which normally cannot be covered in a classroom training. Like I'll give you example, like e-learning content from a good
Mhm.
catalog like Udemy. You cannot
Right.
bring it into classroom training. Calling an external trainer like you, or somebody who is in some different location but who can give a lot of value add, you can actually book it through an online webinar and bring them in. So actually you can also take the level of a training program to a higher kind of a uh, level by using a hybrid approach. Yeah.
All right. And speaking of that objective, there's one question here that is, I think, very relevant to that. It's from Maribel Aglipay. We call her Mentor M. Hi, Mentor M. So her question is, what kind of training theme does it take to pull off a year-long hybrid learning?
Yeah.
Because it's easier said than done, no? When it comes to hybrid learning. So what's your insight on this?
So firstly, I want to say that there is no duration for hybrid learning. You can even have a 3-day training program in a hybrid format, or you
All
can
right.
even have a 5-day training program in a hybrid format. It is the kind of content formats you use which makes it, more effective hybrid or less effective hybrid.
All
Now,
right.
in terms of year-long training program, this was done because the requirement of the customer was such. They wanted to really look at a leadership development program where over a period of 1 year, there's a complete 360-degree change to in developing this leader for senior positions. So that's
Wow.
where, this yearly program was designed. Now the infrastructure wise, what was very much needed was, as I mentioned to you, you needed the first thing, which was smart, very good trainers who have the experience or who are ready to learn of how to on how to do a hybrid format. And when we
Hmm.
started this training in 2020, as luck may have it, COVID also hit, right? So where all classrooms had to be really moved online. So there was this hybrid had become more online, but a mix of e-learning and online webinars on
All
Zoom,
right.
MS Teams, and all. And first is that, and the second thing, of course, is that, you know, while delivering this 1 year format, you need to have something like a program management office, which actually, you know, had to be set up by our company. There was a 3 people team who were looking into, who were program managing this, who were looking at the analytics in terms of completions, who were running the adoption playbook. So typically, the big challenge is 1 year, how to manage the trainers,
Right.
how to make their delivery really impactful, because it's a 1 year program. You
Mhm.
need the time slots and all, you know, pretty well planned, right? Because
Right.
it's really after 4 months, this trainer again needs to deliver this, things like that. And
Right.
second was also program managing it in a way that, you know,
Right.
we were able to implement the adoption playbook and share the reports with the leadership development team there. Okay, this is the percentage of completion, so many people have got qualified, this is the result of OJT, and put
All
that
right.
in a business language to them. Yeah.
Okay. So in short, you have your training team who are knowledgeable on hybrid learning setup, and you also need to have a project management team because this is not just a one-time event, but a year-long program. Thank you for that, Vinit. And let's narrow this down. And this is where I'd like also get on the experiences of either Pearl, AM, or Kevin. What about during the actual facilitation? What kind of training team that you need there? Because I know it's not enough that there's one facilitator there, right? So based on your experience, either Pearl, AM, or Kevin, what kind of training team do you bring in to manage the actual hybrid learning during that day?
Okay. I mean,
I,
to
I'll
answer the,
Okay, Vinit, you can also share your insight there. Let's hear first from anyone from Pearl, AM, and Kevin from
okay,
their
perfect.
actual
Okay.
experience facilitating it.
Understood.
Yeah.
That's good. I thought the question was for me. I'm sorry.
Then I'll get back to you after that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
AM probably.
I'll chime in a bit here. And it's very interesting that we're surfacing again skills and competencies required for the modern learning professional, right? Because it used to be just about facilitation, which I know that's what your question is about. I just want to commentary on skills like the tech aspect and also project management. That's something we also talk about in our function as learning professionals. In our team, so it's a small team, definitely you need learners who are familiar with the tech platforms. And the challenge that we have really is you're so used to either facilitating online fully or
Yeah.
facilitating face to face fully that, like I said, it's embarrassing to admit we forget our audience that's set up online when we are in the classroom, for example. So you need your training team to be fully involved and focused on the entire audience. Mickey actually even had a comment on if it is done successfully, right, it can be an enriching experience for both who are online and those who are participating face to face. So for me, the learning professionals need to be tech savvy, but not just
All
tech
right.
savvy, they need to be human focused as well, and engage both parties really well.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, AM. Yeah. What about Kevin? I know you've been doing some kind of hybrid learning also.
Yeah. From experience, there should be at least two, ideally three, depending on how big the audience is and how many platforms you're monitoring. One person, the main facilitator, ideally should be focused on either the face-to-face or the virtual. And
Mhm.
then the co-facilitators are there to make sure that things are progressing as they should be, addressing any questions or responding to any questions. For example, in one activity I attended, it was it so there was a part of the event that was plenary and then there were breakout rooms. So what they did in the in-person engagement, everyone was directly engaged. But in the breakout room, since the activities had to be in that in person, the attendees attending in the virtual format, they just had like an announcement saying that okay, there will be face-to-face breakout rooms for from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. If you're still free, please be back by 3 p.m. To proceed with the plenary. And then there were people who are really checking in Facebook, are there comments? In YouTube, are there comments? In Zoom, are there comments? So I would say that ideally you have at least one facilitator if you're using multiple platforms or channels. And then the number of in-person facilitators would depend on the size of the actual group. So following the standard rules for face-to-face activities.
All right. Any additional insight from you, Pearl?
None. So Kevin and AM have said it well, very well. I think lalo na kami because we have a very small team. Dalawa nga lang kami talagang facilitators eh. So there's always one that actually manages the technology while the other person is talking maybe either online or in person. I think I also echo AM's challenge, wherein how do you balance if you have online participants? Like it's okay if it's like a very big event and you have a lot of people attending online and a lot of people.
You're on mute, Pearl.
So
Nakamute ulit.
cute.
Ayan.
Yan. Oh, meron nagme-mute sa akin eh, sorry.
Oo nga.
Ayaw na nila akong pakinggan.
Hindi kami yun.
But I think I mean it's not quite that challenging if you have like a lot of participants both online and in person. However, what if like you only have 20 participants and then like you have 18 in person, but you only have two online. So the tendency for the facilitator is like what AM said, you tend to forget the people that are online, right? And the it's also a challenge when it comes to breakout rooms, like if you have a breakout session. So how do you divide the team? So you can't have like one maybe screen for the person that's online, right? And then
Right.
everybody's working. So I think that's one of the challenges that
Yeah.
we face in terms
All
of
right.
hybrid training.
So in short, that really needs careful planning.
Yeah, careful
And
planning.
if I may add also, in my own experience, we do a lot of or several dry run, no? Because even when you need to be mindful of your eye-to-eye contact. So there is a camera there, and you have, uh, let's say 10, 20, 30, 25 people there facing you. So you need to be mindful of when you need to look at your online participants and when do you interact with them. Now, so even those simple things need careful planning. And that's where Vinit's point of view came in. No, now there's a question here or insight coming from Miggy, and this is actually the main the main challenge from a facilitation point of view. How do you maintain the engagement of the audience participation to ensure that they maximize this learning? So, Vinit, I'll go back to you, not from the point of view but trainer, but based on your experience interacting with clients, their own styles and techniques, uh, your own experience. So how do you know what are the tips and techniques that you can share in terms of maintaining engagement all throughout, uh, balancing both the needs of those who are face to face and those who are in the online setting?
Yeah. So one is, of course, it's the personal style of the trainer. So the trainer delivers the training program in a way that they make it a point that, certain questions which are asked are equally distributed between the classroom participants and the online participants, and they're involving them continuously while delivering the training. And second is, very simple, that you can use good tools like tools like, there are tools to launch polls in between. There are tools to launch surveys. There are tools to launch a short quiz before you break for a coffee break, to understand, whether the online participants are in sync with the in-class participants. And in fact, in my slide, I had also included one topic or one point about gamifying the learning, right? So when you talk about gamifying the learning, it's about, uh, when you play a video, the video pauses, there is a pop-up question, and typically you spin a roulette wheel, and the roulette wheel stops on a name, and that person could be, or that learner could be a in-class learner, or it could be an online learner. That is
Mhm.
one. Second is that, while you can do something known as social boards, right? Which I mentioned,
Social board.
social learning or collaboration. And you can also do sticky notes. There are tools to do that. And there is also, various other formats which ensure that the in-class and the online participants are working, are actually interacting, and they're working together and moving forward. And also things like, uh, things like launching short projects by mixing the participants, right, on the mobile app. Like, you make learning groups, and within the group, knowledge group, 2 could be online participants, 3 could be classroom participants, and they together collaborate. So there are a lot of tools which are available, like sticky notes, and other things, which you can use very easily to ensure that, both of them are in sync, and your attention span is, distributed equally between the in-class and online participants. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Vinit. One practical tip that I got there is really the use of technology. As you mentioned, instead of using actual post-it notes, paper, you can actually support sustainability by using digital boards or post-it note. And there, in one platform, both the face-to-face participants and those online can participate. So nice one there. There's a question from Carmela. And the context here is if there is a difference at all, no, between private and government. So, what is your experience with developing hybrid program for a government agency, and what are your challenges when working with government to develop such program? So, this question is for either Vinit, Pearl, Kevin, AM, or anyone who has experience implementing hybrid learning in the government. So let's start with you, Vinit, if you have such experience for government agencies anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Typically, I'll not name the country and the,
Yes.
company for obvious reasons, right? It's not good on my part. But yeah, typically when you're working with a government company, you face some challenges. Uh, Typically, one challenge could be that the infrastructure is not same across various locations, right?
Right.
Typically, a private company has got a standardized infrastructure and standardized SOPs of how they operate. And as I told you, infrastructure is a very important thing about going hybrid, right?
Right.
That is one challenge you can face. Like, it could be as simple as internet connectivity, right? And
That's
if
true.
your internet connection is not good, the hybrid is not going to work, because your 50% audience who are online will somehow, not get that link. Second is also the, you can say, it's also the engagement or the adoption, right? uh, Typically, to have an high level of engagement and adoption in a government
Mhm.
company, you because you are running a hybrid, at it's hybrid, that means it's going on the flow, right? You're
Right.
also working. Some days you're dedicated for training, some trainings you're doing e-learning, some
Mhm.
during the day you're working but joining an online 1 hour webinar. So typically the engagement and adoption can be slightly challenging there, because
True.
the mindset is that, training means you're completely off for 3-4 days and you're training there, right?
Right.
So
Right.
these are the two challenges. And so you will always see that adoption will be a very, very tough thing while implementing it with that was my experience with some government companies. But of course, we can't point everyone in the same bucket, right?
Right.
It will be
Right.
very unfair. Some of the government organizations might be more more professional, more
Mhm,
technology savvy than even private companies, right?
mhm.
So, but
All right.
that's what I experienced.
All right. Thank you, Vinit. And yeah, Kevin?
Yeah, to double down on that, it can be something as simple as not having legal software license. So for example, if I run a Microsoft Excel workshop, it's so difficult to run the program because not all of the participants have official Microsoft Excel, or even if they do, the versions are very different. So I'm going to teach someone how to do one particular function only to find out that because their version is 1997 or 2003, they can't even, the function isn't even appearing to them.
Mhm.
And as a general rule from personal experience, things like internet connectivity, having rooms where people can actually attend, or even having participants, you can speak to each other because they're all attending from a same training room or within their offices. So you hear all of the background noise. So
Right.
that adds a layer of challenge. Sometimes, instead of spending the time to do the actual facilitation or training, we're just troubleshooting the issues,
That's
especially if
true.
there is no dedicated IT that's supporting the participants.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
to add, Kevin, I
Yeah.
think it's not only the license, it's sometimes, especially if you're in a company that blocks yung mga, like for example, Facebook, if you're planning like social engagement in Facebook, I tried once to design a program using podcasts in Spotify. However, our IT does not allow Spotify,
Mm, yeah.
so we couldn't use that. So I think that's also one
Right.
of a challenge. Tama din si Kevin.
Yeah. Thank you, Per, for adding to that. And earlier, it was actually Carmela who asked the question. And Carmela raised her hand. Carmela?
Yes, thank you for all the answers. I'm sorry I cannot switch on my video.
No problem. We can hear you clearly. Go on.
Okay. I want to ask our speaker, but also the rest, the others can also answer. Because I think one challenge with hybrid programs is the age and the tech savviness of participants. So, and also age, tech savviness, and the third is the level in the position. Because I understand more senior people might be so still dependent on their secretaries, executive assistants to
Right,
use all
right.
these apps. So how do you deal with age factor, seniority, meaning dependent on, on assistance, and third, on tech savviness? Do you spend, in your experience, did you spend time to really train them first? How to use these gadgets, tools? And I know it's not easy to train when you are already 55, for example, and you have to start learning new apps and install it in your cell phone, etc. So how did you deal with this in the
Yeah.
past?
Excellent question. So essentially, it's how do you prepare your participants towards hybrid learning, especially if they're into their 50s. And this is not only in the government. There are a lot of companies whose management team are into their 50s also. So anyone who would like to answer that? Vinit?
Yeah, okay. So one thing, that's an excellent question actually, and a very practical one. See, one thing is that, when an organization is looking at hybrid, right, you have to do the transition in a very, in a very phase-wise manner. So, one thing what you can do is that initially you keep all the important trainings still fully classroom, and you move some trainings hybrid, which don't fall in that category of importance. And when you're doing classroom trainings also, you start making them used to certain tools, right? That means you could also do a classroom training, like I had a slide on pre, in, and post class engagement. So you can actually do that engagement on a learning platform. That means it's as simple as, before you come for the training, read this article, do this quiz during the training in classroom, push the material like a
Mhm.
survey before a coffee break, a quiz before a coffee break, which they do it on their mobile, right? It's like everybody knows how
Right.
to use a WhatsApp or a Facebook. That kind of digital literacy you do need. like today, and at the end, post training, like you can submit a write-up on the mobile app, you can upload a document on the mobile app. So that kind of slow transition which we should start doing, call it like an incubation period. First thing is you should start making people in classroom trainings getting used to more digital formats. That means we are still not going hybrid.
Yeah.
So once they do that, the first milestone is achieved. The second milestone is then understanding which training programs you can move in a hybrid format, and typically make the hybrid format very simple. As
Right.
you said, not everybody, as ma'am said, not everybody can use tools. Like you don't give them things like they need to upload their OJTs, or they need to upload a video, record some responses. Keep it very simple. Hybrid is, this is what you consume on your mobile. This is where you join online while there is a classroom training. And this is what you do again do on mobile. This is again you join online. You don't have to start using all the formats like surveys, like like a OJT or something like video based response, or and also you can avoid using things like roulette wheels, where a wheel stops and you are supposed to present, like text walls and all. But at the end of the day, whatever I might say, at least the participant needs to have a digital literacy of using a mobile,
Right.
and should have a digital literacy of using something like a Facebook or a WhatsApp in order to at least take them online. If
Right.
that is not there, then you have to actually do a training to first make them digital,
Right.
digitally. So
All right.
it's a core challenge. And as I agree, as the age goes up, it's more difficult to get them into the flow of hybrid training. And for senior professionals, as you mentioned, there is no other way than making it a management mandate and making it a way of life. And you can still use tools. You can send a reminder to them. You can send a reminder notification to even their secretary. You can put it on their calendar. You can allow calendar to block that time frame so that nobody else can book a meeting. Still, you can use technology for senior folks, but at the end of the day, it has to be a buy-in.
Right. Thank you, Vinit. Four things we got there. One, it's getting the management mandate for digital, and not only for learning purposes, but digital as a whole. Second, it's you need to train people, especially managers, on digital literacy, in short, preparing them, right? And the other one, it's you need to be mindful of the incubation process. Don't expect that right on the first time they will be able to do excellent adoption right away. So there's an incubation process. And the fourth one that we got there, very practical, you need to keep it simple at first. Don't introduce so much complicated
Many formats.
technologies and different formats, and that would only confuse them and keep it more complicated for them. Excellent insight. Oh, it's 6:56. Kevin, before I call you, there is one exciting and very timely question here from John Evan. It's about any AI tools which you recommend for managing hybrid learning. I know there is Disperse as a platform, but what about AI tools that you can use? Anyone can answer this, no? Based on your experience, you can chat or you can share here. AI tools for hybrid learning. Anyone who has used AI tools for hybrid learning?
Right. I mean,
Yeah, Vinit?
since nobody is
Yeah,
answering,
please.
I'll answer that question. Yeah, of course, there are multiple tools available. Yeah, for doing hybrid learning. But when you bring AI into the aspect of hybrid learning, then you're taking it to the next level. So within Disperse, we have a tool known as Gaminar, which can be used for hybrid learning.
Gemini.
So Gaminar.
Gaminar. It's like
We call it
webinar, but Gaminar.
we call it a Gaminar. It's like
Okay. Game.
it's actually launched in order to bring the classroom training participants and the online participants to one level, where
right.
you launch things like I was showing you the roulette wheel, I was showing you the text wall and all, right? So what happens, how AI is used there is, the AI is able to do some internal analysis on the participant behavior. like what kind of content they are able to consume. Do they like to consume more, text-based content, video-based content? What is the attention span of the participant? And second, it is also when you launch questions, right,
Right.
which are to multiple participants, using AI, it does a sentiment analysis, and it is able to put your participants into certain buckets. Like these are extremely interested, these are not that satisfied. And that's where AI does an analysis of the reply or answers given by participants while conducting this hybrid training program. And they are able to give trainers some insights on, for these set of participants, maybe you need to do a separate breakout because their problem is different, or they kind of feel that the solution to this business problem has to be managed in this way, or
Correct.
these kind of participants are of a higher pedigree, their understanding is better, so they need to be put into a separate project or a
Right.
OJT. So those kind of things can be done by using AI. Yeah.
Thank you, Vinit.
And
And
June,
probably
sorry.
Pearl has something to add.
Yeah, I'd like to add,
Okay.
kami we're using, it's an AI tool called KCAI. So here, we can like put in like, a certain scenario. For example, do an AI or a scenario on feedback giving, and it will generate role plays. So you will have AI
Nice.
generate role plays, and the participant can actually watch the role plays being done by, of course, AI characters. So
All
that's
right.
one other thing that we use.
All right. All right, it's 6:59, and for that question, thank you, Evan. And perhaps PSTD can also come up with its own list, something that we can do via research. And so thank you for provoking our thoughts on that. There were questions that we were not able to read, but I think like the question of Menchu about the L&D practitioners, pretty much the answers from Vinet and the others apply as well, that we need to prepare the learners. And in particular, before we prepare the learners, we also need to prepare the L&D practitioners on being digital, right? So they cannot give what they do not have, principle. And
June,
with that, yeah,
June, I know
please.
we're out of time. We're getting
Yeah.
requests for the slides or the chat transcript, things like that. I know it's such a lively discussion, so many more
Yeah.
questions. Also wanted to share with everyone here that Disperse has been generous enough to offer to share some purple papers, their version of white
Oh,
papers.
nice. All right.
For some of us to continue learning about this space. Thank you,
Yeah.
Disperse.
So we will share.
Thanks.
And with that, your parting words, Vinit, with you, and then Pearl, Kevin, and AM.
Perfect. It was a very interesting discussion, and I strongly believe, right, not from a just from a dispersed perspective, I strongly believe that hybrid is the way to go in future, and blended is the way to go. And with the millennial generation coming in, you will see that there will be a mindset change where they'll find classroom too boring and too consuming and not very business productive. So in future, most of the learning and development is going to take a threefold approach. It is going to take a skill-based approach. That means everything will be quantified or qualified in form of skills. Second, it is going to take a KPI-based approach to look at direct business productivity and linking training to business outcomes where your KPIs are developed directly. And last is all this training is going to go blended using various kind of content formats, and it's going to go hybrid big time. So I think so this is the future, and everybody should look at it in a very serious way, because most of the training professionals, L&D professionals, will be able to deliver better, will be able to have the cost effectiveness in a nicer manner, and will be able to show the matrix of ROI in a very clear way if they go technology first and hybrid as the core. Yeah, thank you.
All right, Vinit. On behalf of Pearl, Kevin, AM, Thank you very much for sharing your time, and also to our participants for also sharing your questions, insights, and just for being here to take on this very important learning. And we can't end this without our tradition of having our photo. So paki-on po yung inyong mga video, and let's have our traditional photo. Yan, yan. Okay.
Okay,
Norman?
so okay, I'll be the one to take the pictures. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Ayan, may open pa. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right.
Thanks
Thank you
so
so much,
much.
everyone.
Vinit and
Yeah.
Joseph, thank you.
See you
Thank
again.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Vinit, thank you so much. That's really insightful what you gave
Bye,
us.
Z.